Hey pickleballers, and welcome to another episode of the PickleBros podcast. As always, thank you for your comments, likes, subscriptions, and please share us around. We love when you guys share us around. We love every new subscriber. So just get the word out in pickleballdom. We're the only ones having these types of conversations, so please spread the word. And sponsored today, the show, Pickleball Gangsta. Got their hat, got the t-shirt. That's a pickleball apparel company started by a local guy here in town. Just launched, so his inventory is pretty sparse, but I've seen some of the designs coming out, and it's going to be funny. Tim, he's got some shirts that are going to be poking tennis a little bit. So I
love that. That's
definitely
awesome.
going to be having one of those. For those of you listening, you will not have recognized we have two much prettier faces than Stolp and Jesse. We have replaced them. Tim, why don't you go ahead and intro your guest, and then I'll intro mine.
All right. So the lovely lady in the bottom left screen is my sister of many years, Nicole W. Saunders, and she is here to give her insight on the topic that we'll be discussing today, which I'm not going to tease right now.
Yes, well, actually, it's in the title anyway, so people know it's mixed doubles and spousal trouble, which is why my wife, my wife, is here, Rachel, my lovely wife, and I told her she has permission to make fun of me and go at me today. I've already made a fool of myself enough on this podcast. I've told people all of my sins and my shortcomings, so she has a green light to go at me today. So mixed doubles is the topic, but we are going to kick it off with, as of course, what's your beef? And I will start. My beef today is when you are receiving the return and your partner says out, and then you react to it, you step back, and they're like, oh, wait. And then you step back in, and then they look at you like, why didn't you get it? Like, what are you telling me? You gave me mixed signals back and forth. So that happened recently, and I was very frustrated that I caught any flack because I got a double call in the ball's flight. So that is my beef this week. Tim, what's your beef, my man?
That's a good beef, Ian. That's a good beef. So I do have a beef, and it's not just because I have to have a beef. I just happen to have a beef.
Shocker.
Yeah. So this week I went and played the my playoff match. It was a semifinal. It was singles. Traveled almost an hour down south for these to these courts that we played at.
Like Bear Creek down south?
It was Bear Creek, yes. Had never played there before. Knew I was in for a tough match. It was also very, very hot that day. Had just got off the plane from San Antonio, so I was kind of tired. I don't know why I'm going into this part of it. That's not my beef. But at Bear Creek, you've got just absolutely beautiful courts. I don't remember how many courts there are because my first time there,
12, I think.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I'm probably not going to frequent these courts very often because they are so far away. But I know that a lot of the people that we like to play with, they frequent those courts. So in the middle of all this fun, I turn around and what you get is a representation of the absolute state of tennis. Nasty, abandoned, crack-ridden, grass-infested tennis courts.
Right next to it. I know what you're talking about.
And it's like, can we just put this sport out of its misery? And it's almost like the contrast between the pickleball courts and the tennis courts was so stark, it almost seemed like it was staged. Like someone's trying to make a point here. And it's like, yeah, we get your point. We agree with your point. Can we do away with the tennis courts now and maybe build some more pickleball courts? Again, like I'm probably not going to travel that far south very often, but I'd be tempted to if there were 12 more courts instead of those nasty tennis courts. So that's my beef. Let's just do away with tennis, please.
I love that, dude. And coming from you, it's got so much more credit to his life to tennis. My lovely Wolfie, Rachel, what is your beef this week, my love?
I'm excited because this is my first time, saying a beef on the PickleBros podcast. But I just want to make clear this is not the first time y'all have heard my beef on the PickleBros podcast because it's about, Monday, Tuesday every week. Ian's like, what's my beef going to be? What's it going to be?
He steals his beefs from you?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
What? Occasionally he'll come up with his own, but
This is quite a disclosure.
Wow, Bozer.
I told you guys I gave her the green light. I didn't know she was going to out me so bad this early, though.
That's right. It's real. It's real, people.
No, but I would say my beef this week is people who show up at the courts with a motive other than to play and have a great time, especially at like a fun, casual, open play. Just people who forget that this is a game. And if you're not enjoying yourself, if you're not learning something, if you're not getting better, if you're not having a blast out there and breaking the sweat, then what's the point?
No, okay, the other way. Backwards.
She's talking to somebody specific on this podcast.
I feel like you're being targeted.
We'll get
Which
to
is
that
appropriate
later.
for mixed doubles.
Don't spoil it, Tim.
Right. Nicole, what is your beef, girl?
Okay, I have a beef. I think it's come up in this group or in this setting. Somebody has said it, but I want it to be known that it originated from me. And you will be familiar with this if you've ever, I don't know, been the female in a mixed double situation or been in a double situation where maybe you're at a little bit of a lower level. But maybe if you hit the ball in the net or you serve the ball and the serve is out, or you hit the ball long and your partner or spouse, it's called the full body eye roll.
I love this.
I think many of us, yes, it starts with putting the head back. The eyes are closed because they're so far back in the head. I think they have to be closed. And the arms are just limp at the sides. And I mean, you've either done it or you've experienced it. I guarantee everyone in this group has either done it or experienced it. And it's like, it makes you feel a level of shame and anger and worthlessness that can't otherwise be explained. And that is my beef.
That is a fantastic beef, Nicole. You are breaking up a little bit. I hope your connection comes back.
Oh.
We've definitely stolen that from you. The full body eye roll. We use it all the time.
Sure.
We love it.
Just give me the credit. That's fine. You can use it. Just give me the credit.
Yep.
You didn't copyright in time. All right. Well, on the heels of the full body eye roll, we're going to get right into it. Mixed doubles. We're also going to be looping in the spousal trouble. Rachel and I play together sometimes. And Nicole, you also play with your husband.
Sure.
But we're going to start a little bit more positive. And we're going to start with you, Rachel. I'm going to throw it over to you. What is your best experience ever playing mixed doubles? And it better include me.
So many conditions.
Right?
I am remembering an open play session where we weren't really sure what we were going into, weren't sure who's going to show up. And we got some really good opponents across the court from us. And, the kind of opponents that you don't have to feel bad about any shot you're going to take, and you can just kind of let loose and have fun with it. And I was playing next to Ian, and we are starting to figure out, we're getting smooth on the mechanics of stacking because I'm a lefty. So that adds a whole other little element in with it. So yeah, we were finally getting a groove with that and finally figured out how to not want to murder each other by the end of every single match. And we were just wailing on our opponents, and every other hit was this beautiful winner shot coming from both of us. And just that experience of being competitive and amped up in an environment where there was this like egalitarian, like there's very few other sports that I could play right alongside my husband, who is 75 pounds heavier than me and 4 inches taller than me.
All muscle.
All muscle.
Crushed. Yeah. So it's just fantastic. And I loved it. Our daughters were there watching us in between glances down at the iPad. And they were on. So it was fun. Got that good family camaraderie moment of destroying 2 other human beings alongside your spouse. So
and we are constantly in search of that holy grail, ever trying to make that the norm, not the exception. Nicole, what is your best experience playing mixed?
So I have two actually, so I'll try to shorten them because I think they're both up there equally. So when I play with my husband, it's been a labor of love, and we'll get into that later. But when we are on and we are winning and we are doing everything right and we've got the partnership down and the strategy down and where everybody else is splitting, this is rec, everyone else is splitting and we're staying together because everyone knows we're working on it. And it's like a thing that we are working on. It's a goal. And when we're winning game after game after game and the teams are just rotating in and we're winning, that is like the sweet spot in mixed doubles for me. It is like the greatest thing you could ever hope for. And then also interesting, the other one is my husband hosts and organizes like a higher level group on Tuesday nights. And I used to play in it, but then I dropped out because I kind of chickened out and I was too afraid, didn't have the confidence, too much pressure, knew I didn't belong there. And then I went and played in Newport with my brothers and gained some confidence and then came back and wanted to play in his group. And there is nothing greater than hearing from my husband that one of the other guys in the group was like, dude, Nicole's totally holding her own, man. She's doing awesome. And that is such a victory when you are holding your own and competing equally with a higher level group of men. And granted, it was mixed doubles. It was me and 7 other dudes. So to be able to be competitive successfully and consistently in that group, that's the holy grail as far as I'm concerned.
That's awesome. And for our viewers to know, I mean, Nicole, your last name is Saunders, but that Whiteman family, you guys, there's a lot of pickleball being played in that family, and you are not far from your brothers at all.
Thanks.
Yeah. So I'm gonna jump in, and then I'll pass it off to you, Timmy. My favorite mixed event ever was when Rachel and I were still relatively new to the game. We were playing 3-0 at a local yokel tournament at local high school. So gymnasium floors, the transferable nets, the non-permanent nets, those weird balls, bad lighting. So it was tough. And I was kind of a higher level 3-5, but we were playing 3-0. So there were a couple people who were a little frustrated with me, but we ended up getting gold. And that was just such a good feeling, especially because it was the second tournament we'd ever played together. And we'd taken bronze in the one before. And I was very upset with how I conducted myself in our final match. We lost. This lady hit a laser right past Rachel, and I threw my paddle. And I realized I so desperately, even now, regret. I want to go back to that moment and just give her a hug. It was her first tournament she'd ever played in. She did incredible. I'd already played in 3 or 4 tournaments, and I just didn't like how I conducted myself. So when we won gold, I dropped my paddle and went and just gave her the biggest hug ever. So I felt like I redeemed myself. And yeah, so we're still searching for another gold medal together, babe. But that is by far probably also my favorite win ever. 3-0 or not, it was my favorite win ever.
Plus, now you know that if you're upset, the proper etiquette is a full body eye roll, right?
yeah. No more paddle throwing for me. Tim, my
Copyright Nicole.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So when I first started playing, I met a lady by the name of Janie Toole. I don't know if she listens to the podcast or not. I hope she does. But I was more of a tennis player on the pickleball court. She was definitely a tennis player on the pickleball court. We were both kind of raw in that regard. Not much respect for the soft game, which I guess it's arguable that I still have no respect for the soft game, but it's a lot better now than it used to be, for sure. And she and I would just play locally with our buddies. We'd play in the morning a lot of the time. It was mostly a mixed doubles game. That's pretty much what I played almost exclusively to start out. And we had a core group of like 4 to 6 people. But it was usually me and Janie. And the first time we went out of town, so we did play in some local tournaments and did very, very well. But the first time that we went out of town to see, and this is before Duper, obviously, so we didn't really know how to compare ourselves to, some of the people that are out there playing in other states. We were in Georgia at the time, and we traveled out of town to Florida to play in a tournament. I don't remember exactly what the tournament was called. but it was the 4-0 level, which if you're playing mixed, like that's a lot of people play 4-0 mixed. That's just the way it is. Not very many people will play in the 4-5 or 5-0 because just most people are in that level. At the tournament level, they'll play 4-0. So it was a big draw. There are lots of teams in there. And we didn't know how we'd stack up outside of our own community there in Augusta. But it felt like playing a video game. Like each match was like its own challenge. And you had to beat the boss, right? And there were some awesome players there. There were some huge guys. There was wailing on the ball. Each team was different. Each challenge was different. And we just persevered. Like we struggled. Every match was super intense, but we won every single match. And we had to win like 6 or 7 matches.
That's a big draw.
Yeah, it was a big draw. And my family was there the entire time. It's the only time they've ever come to watch one of my tournaments. I mean, for a tournament that takes the entire day, they were there for the whole day, and it was hot. And so we got to the finals against this really good team. Hadn't played them yet. They actually had worked their way through the losers bracket, and they beat us in 2 straight games up to 11. So we had to play a tiebreaker for the gold to 15, and it was the most intense. That's the thing about mixed doubles. It's really, you can love mixed doubles if you make it about the competition and not about the style of play all the time. This was just so competitive and so cutthroat. And we were up 16-15 and I poached a forehand and we won the match and the gold. And my family just explodes in the sideline. They were super into it.
The walk-off poach winner. That feels so good.
Walk-off poach. Yes. And what was so great about this is that, I actually lost my train of thought with that walk-off poach. But I love winning in pickleball because it feels different. You can share it with somebody.
Yep. And especially your family, because they were there. That's the best.
And Janie too. She and I had come a long way. We started playing together, and to win that tournament out of town, where it's like you're at like a campsite with everyone that's like traveling with you, so it's super festive, new environment. That was really special, and that was my favorite mixed doubles moment.
I love that. That's so good, guys. But now that we have the sappy, mopey dopey stuff over with, it's now time course correct. Go 180. And what do you dislike? I should say, what do you like or dislike? But we all know that we want to throw our dislikes out there. What do you like or dislike about mixed? Nicole, I know you're quite opinionated, so I'm going to give it to you first.
Honestly, the first thing that comes to mind when I think about what I don't like about mixed is the pressure. So the pressure of being the female in the mixed doubles situation, or, again, you have to separate tournament situations from rec situations. But for me, especially when you're newer, when you're up and coming, when you're working your way between 3-5 and 4-0, and you're stuck in that and you're playing up, you're playing with higher level men in a mixed situation, feeling like when you walk onto the court and your partner like slumps a little bit, knowing that he's getting stuck with the female and that maybe he's just assuming it's going to be a loss, because we're not going to be able to stack up against if we're a mixed versus playing, 2 men, which happens a lot in rec when there's not equal men and women. So the pressure of feeling like you have to perform, you have to play up, you have to be on, you can't mess up, you can't feed into what they're assuming is already going to happen. That's probably what in getting the full body eye roll, that's probably what I like the least about mixed doubles.
Interesting. Rachel, piggyback off that or offer in your own thoughts?
Yeah, no, those are good. I definitely feel that pressure a lot. And on the flip side, it's great when you get a few points in and realize that the mixed team is the stronger team. That's when that momentum rolls. And that's a great feeling. Like you said earlier, just feeling like you're holding your own against the boys. Yep. That's a good feeling. And that momentum is great to carry. But man, if that momentum shifts the wrong way in those first few points, it's just
it's a game of runs for sure.
Downward spiral.
Definitely. I think my other issue with mixed, and this is kind of that mental fear going into every game, especially being younger. I think my youth and my gender both plays into this, is the second I get on a court with men who are a little bit older than me, I guarantee you at least one guy is going to go, hey, have you heard of continental grip? You should really consider a different way of holding your paddle. Or, hey, I saw that you tried to do an overhead. Can I show you how to do one of those? Oh, hey, so I see you've got a two-hand backhand. A single's way better. And then the other opponent is going to come over and say the exact opposite. And you have to sit there going, yeah, great. Okay, cool. I'll try that. Every time, and man, that gets old, especially in between every single point.
Oh, man,
it is interesting. It is interesting as a female. People think they can give you advice a lot more than I think if you're a guy. They just think they're going to take you under their wing. Or a lot of times, if you're playing with older men, like when I first started playing, there was a lot of older men, and they're kind of all your dads, and they kind of want to tell you what to do and give you advice. And sometimes it's great, and sometimes it's not.
Tim,
but half the time it contradicts with what they say contradicts each other. So you're like, I want to be nice, but I can't do both of these things.
Right.
I have seen Tim's eyes narrowing this entire time. Go ahead, bro. What are you thinking?
I'm not gonna. Well, all right, fine.
I know what he's thinking. I'll tell you what he's thinking.
No, so I've been in that position where I offer up some advice to my female counterpart, and it's because I legit get vibes from them that they want to be instructed. And not lost on me is the fact that, okay, I may have peeked at their duper and it's like a 4.02 and mine's a 4.7 something.
Yeah. And what do we think about duper now? Okay.
And I selectively like duper.
Yes.
So, it's not someone I usually play with because I don't play a lot of mixed doubles. And yet, I'm assuming, I'm not trying to big time anybody or anything, but I'm assuming they kind of know who I am because I play in tournaments and I play at Lifetime a lot. And
you're a PickleBro now.
And I'm a PickleBro. I'm a freaking celebrity, right? So yeah. And I don't get the idea that I come off as annoying because I am really careful at how I give the advice and how I come across, trying to be humble.
Can I jump in and ask you how many times during a game do you offer advice to your female partner?
Once.
Then you are not in the category I'm talking about. You're all good.
Also, I don't believe that.
You're all good.
You don't believe once?
I don't believe once.
Well, because the worst thing you can be is a nag. But I do want to say stuff as it occurs to me, but I pick my words carefully. I say the important thing.
Yeah.
I don't say 2 or 3 or 4 things. I say the one main thing. Yeah. If they can focus on that, then I'm keeping it simple. And I'm not coming off as a nag.
Right.
I've heard people say, you should listen to him. He's better than you, which I understand, but the delivery and the timing is everything. Okay. Yeah. If it's in the middle of a game and you're playing with your spouse, is it too early to talk about this? But if you're playing with your spouse and then you're in the middle of a game and you're feeling the pressure, maybe you don't have the confidence, you're getting flustered, you're getting the full body eye roll. That is not the time to give advice. That is not. And then by the way, he gives advice and then goes and makes his own mistakes. Makes it. What's that?
Who is he? Are we singling people out?
Yeah, maybe this might be specifically related to spouse play.
Okay. Well, I'll just say I have a knack for not crossing that boundary because I grew up with Nicole Whiteman, and so I know how to communicate. Yeah. But yeah, for anyone that
have to know how to communicate,
because everybody except for two guys, that's going to be tough.
Well, this is so great, guys, because one of the things I wanted to talk about was communication between men and women and the struggles. Now, I had that later on, but we're going to go straight into it right now because that's what we're talking about. And as I'm hearing you guys like give me corrections or give me coaching, when Tim and I play together, I probably hear a dozen times, you should have been in the middle there, or you were slow to come up, or that was mine, or like there's also like,
is that right?
Well, no, but the thing is, it doesn't bother me because it's like communication. So, but it can also be construed as coaching. And so I'm kind of blending the two. Is it coaching? Is it just communication? And then also I want to put the emphasis on the intensity element, I should say, between men and women. Because Tim can yell at me. Tim, as we've mentioned on the podcast before, Tim and I have of everyone in our group, we have gotten the most friction with each other. But I also think we've got one of the best relationships in our group. But
100%.
Rachel, maybe I'll pass over to you right now. You've shared. I'm very intense, and it throws you off. So why don't you kick off this communication topic?
I do want to say I'm a big fan of communicating, and dude, in the middle of the game, you gotta have efficient communication, and it might not be the most efficient to be a dick to your partner, but at the same time, you don't have the time to sit there and coddle them, right? Like you really got to get to the point in the middle of that point. Otherwise the opportunity is gone. So I just want to say, I think there's a strong difference on communicating between partners and the example of grandpa wanting to take me under his wing and teach me all of his ways in the middle of every single point on the court, right? And I'm a big fan of that on-court communication, and it's got to be efficient. Like it's not efficient and it's not most effective to just be a dick to your partner, but it's also not efficient to coddle them in the middle of that point and, massage that message. Sometimes you just got to communicate what you need. Like you got to be closer to the midline or something like that.
Sounds so complicated.
If it's not done,
and I think there's a big difference between, it's such a huge difference between tournament situations and rec situations. Yeah. And then also the dynamic of who your partner is. For example, I play with my husband. That's one situation. And I'm super sensitive to his delivery on the court in the pressure situation. But then I have my friend Gabe, who I've played with in tournament settings. Now we go into it completely with a different approach. We talk about everything before we even get on the court, what we're going to do, how much court he's going to take up, what we're going to do in this situation, whether it's just going to be about we're just going to go out there and have fun and get you to realize that you can't hang in a 4-0 tournament. It's so much of it has to do with how you set it up, how you approach it, what you even say to each other before you get on the court. Right. That can make the difference between a successful partnership and outcome and like a disaster and everyone hates it.
Here's me throwing my wife under the bus time because kind of you're talking about the intensity and strategizing. I have gotten to a point where I think the game very quickly, right? I can stack, half stack, 3/4 stack. I can in mid swing, I can adjust where I need to go based on what my partner might make a call out or what I see my opponent's doing. So when Rachel and I are playing, sometimes she forgets whether to be back or up or which side she's on, and it throws me off. I'm like, get over there. And you go, I got it. I'll figure out. I'm like, but he's about to serve and you're not in the right spot. And it throws me off. But so that's communication, right? It's like, but that's not even the strategizing element of it. I'm just like, get in your spot. And then you get mad at me. Go ahead.
But sometimes you have to figure that out on your own, because for example, if I'm stacking and I've got my partner constantly pointing and telling me where to go, then I don't have a chance. It's like using directions and not figuring it. I don't know. It's like I don't have a chance to learn it on my own if somebody's always directing me. So it's like, give me a chance. I know where I'm going to go, but I have to get there on my own without somebody, piloting.
Which is one of the issues that we've run into, because even if we're not stacking, like no matter what's going on, I have a walk around, analyze the situation, ease into my spot, slow the game down a bit, and then get to that point to stay in control of the scenario.
It takes forever.
That's the thing. Who has time for this? We're trying to win a match.
Oh my God. He's like, we're wasting pickleball time. I'm like, calm down.
Yeah, sometimes you have to consider, Tim, your partner. It's not all about you. It's not all about you in men's doubles either.
Team sports are so hard, right?
Oh
No,
man.
I think, man, seriously, a lot of this has to do with just the nature of the difference between men and women. Men are, you know, the communication is brief. Okay, like the patience is brief. Men are a little more selfishly, they think a little bit more selfishly. They don't always consider the partner or the other person. So that can come across as, you know, being a dick.
Right.
See, I'm going to combat that, but I'm going to ask Tim this question because I know my answer to it. When I'm playing with my mixed partner, I'm totally focused on how to cover them, protecting them, keeping them away from their weaknesses. So I'm not being selfish. I got your back.
It's chivalry.
Yeah, you need me. Go ahead, Tim.
No, I don't know if I can say it much better than that. But if it's a partner that I really care about, and this is to Nicole's point, what kind of mixed doubles are you playing? I usually don't play with anyone for any long amount of time, like multiple tournaments or multiple leagues or anything like that. I used to with Jamie and some other people back in Georgia, but these days, and it all depends on what kind of mixed doubles you play. Here, it's more those short relationships where we just happen to be in this tournament together, where it was random, or it's some kind of open play. After this, we'll switch partners. So what difference does it make? If you're in a long-term committed pickleball relationship, whether it's a spouse or not, you need to take the time to foster that communication and figure out what your partner needs to hear, what's going to help them, how they need to hear it. For me, I guess it doesn't usually apply because I don't find myself in those partnerships.
Well, but I would argue, even if it's a short term, like a tournament situation, you have to get that all hashed out before you start, before you get on the court, before, so it's not an after the fact situation and you complain about all the things that didn't go right. That was just a direct result of you not communicating effectively and properly before you started.
See, what I absolutely love about this conversation we've had so far, and this is just great, is to me, it's exactly how women think and how men and women communicate. It's kind of sporadic. We're looping, we're up and down, and we're touching every point that I wanted. Like if I had Jesse and Stolp here, we'd be clear, concise, every point we'd be going through. But you ladies have already covered in some way, touched on something that we want to talk about. So it's beautiful. So I'm
so much for the outline.
Right? But
I know, right?
I'm going to try and move on because I do think we're hinting on it, but I want to be unapologetically direct and talk about what is it like to play with your spouse, like the emotions behind it, the difficulties. And Nicole, I know you've thought about this. Rachel, I am nervous and interested to hear your take as well. What's it like to play with your spouse? Nicole.
First. Me.
Nicole.
Okay. So I would describe this as a labor of love. Okay. So it's interesting because when we started, I played more than Craig because, he works a full-time job. I'm home with the kids. So I had just more free time when I first started playing. And then he kind of caught up and then kind of flew past me in skill level. And it would be extremely frustrating for the two of us to play when I was, kind of approaching the 3-5 level. And it was just a matter of, he was stronger than me. He was better than me already just because he was a man, he's stronger and faster anyway. So early on, it was extremely frustrating because I just wasn't good enough and we didn't have enough practice at it and we didn't play enough together. But we've kind of, I would say we both have, but mostly me. I have made this like a major lifetime goal, like message, like what are the boards that you make?
Vision
like
boards?
The vision board. I'm not kidding. Like I'm fully intending on making a vision board to make this as successful as possible. Because if we can hash it out, if we can figure out the partnership and do it well on the court, that has so many implications in our life. Yeah. I mean, it's been important to learn how to communicate well and how to play well and how to cover each other's strengths and weaknesses. Yeah. And dealing with wins and losses differently and dealing with when we're getting pummeled and just getting murdered and trying not to let that, get me in a hole and get me worried and frustrated, and have him not do the full body eye rolls. I mean, it's just like a lot of things that we have actively tried to work out because we want it to be successful. Because like we said in the beginning, there's nothing better than when we play together and we are on and we're winning and we're beating people, and we're doing that as a married couple, because it's not common. And it's
like
also
a counseling session with antagonism,
for
competitive
sure.
antagonism.
But what's a better way to do it than pickleball? I mean,
Mhm.
what's a better way? And I mean, I don't know. There's just, and to be able, just to close off, to be able to do that with your spouse. Because I think a lot of people that don't have a spouse that plays, or don't have a spouse that plays good, like at a high enough level to be a good partnership, it's just, I feel like it's just such a gift to have that in a spouse.
Yeah. Rachel, go ahead.
Remind me what the prompt was.
What's it like to play with me? what?
Oh, yeah. It was interesting. As soon as Tim was talking about chivalry on the court, that just came up with so many thoughts on that, because, and I think it highlights why I love playing pickleball. I think mixed doubles is the best iteration of the game. I think it's the most entertaining. I love the strategy. Men's doubles is impressive and women's doubles is impressive, and they're different. But I want to watch mixed. That is, to me, what I identify as a great pickleball game. So I love this version of the sport. And I realize that I really do have strong different expectations from a male partner and from a male partner who is my husband. There are strong differences there.
Enlighten me. Let me learn.
Right. So if I am playing with a guy I just met, an open play rec situation, chivalry has no part in this. I am entering the arena. I am choosing to put myself out there, and I want to be treated and targeted and anti-targeted and defended from and attacked just like you would any other player. And I'm used to team sports environments where, I'm the oldest of 5 kids. So I'm very used to team sports environments, and the weakest link gets picked on. And so that, you got to establish yourself, you got to set it up, and you got to be ready to defend yourself. And I like that situation. And one of the reasons I like pickleball is the chance to have that aggression and competition in my life. So if I have a male partner who feels like his whole job on that pickleball court is to defend me, then A, you're not doing your job, because you're not worried about putting the hurt on our opponents. And that is your primary goal, is to play pickleball.
Don't you remember the vows I made?
Yeah.
Well, I would never imagine that it was my partner's job, or he was even thinking that it was his duty to protect me or defend me.
Yeah, no.
Like, that seems ridiculous.
This is not warfare. It's a wiffle ball. What's the worst thing that's going to happen?
We could lose.
And if something happens, it's because I didn't have my paddle up, and it's my fault. I mean, let's be honest.
But if we lose because you're worried about covering me or defending me or protecting my sensibilities, then why the heck are you on a sports court with a female? Because you clearly don't have your head in the game. That being said, I never want to see my husband behave in a non-chivalrous way. So there's your catch-22, babe.
So what does chivalry look like on the pickleball court, in your opinion, Rachel?
To indirectly answer that question, I think the only time I have ever gotten angry at a male in a mixed sports event was when we were playing mixed gender indoor soccer. And there was a 6'8", I'm guessing 300 pounds of muscle, D1 college football player.
Yeah.
Who was home for Christmas. And mom brought him along for the game to play soccer with her on break. And he saw me coming. We were going for the same ball. I'm a terrible soccer player. So let's make it clear. I was not a threat to his team winning at all. But we were both going for the same ball. And his approach was to not beat me to the ball. His approach was to lay me out. And in every other mixed sports that I've seen, there comes that moment where you're about to get contact between a significantly stronger, faster male and a significantly smaller female. and the guy shies away or turns, or there is enough, you both deflect enough that it's not a full-on collision, because you both know that that does not end up well. And this guy had no deference at all and just obliterated me and knocked the wind out of my lungs. And I never wanted to play a sport against a male again.
I remember that. I was very upset.
I was so
Wow.
done. And so the thing I love about pickleball is you rarely have that situation. But at the same time, there are some of those scenarios where I popped that ball up way too high and I'm at a position, I'm real close in the kitchen, and you could slam that ball in my face so hard, or you could put it away and win the point without, risking hurting me. And in that situation, I think there is a place for deference, especially when you've got a large skill differential, right? If you're going to beat me and win this point anyway, because I made a huge error and it's easy for you, then you don't need to go the extra step of shoving it down my throat, right? You can just win the point. And I think that's what deference looks like in pickleball.
Rewinding to the part where you said guys will like lean off and back up a little bit and kind of ease off. That's basically what and it's also funny you said mixed is the best version of pickleball. I completely disagree. Singles is even more superior version of mixed pickleball.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe that you just said that.
That is a preposterous statement.
You just want to like,
and I think I might agree.
Tammy goes, and listen,
but it all depends on your partner.
When
The
I'm
suppression
playing,
here is just crazy.
not only do I have these instincts to protect my wife, defend my female partner, to back them up, but I also don't want to go and pummel the other female. Just drive balls at her, hit overheads at her. I end up playing dramatically differently than I otherwise would. And so I've got all these different elements kind of tugging on me at once. Defend my wife, but I know she wants me to treat her as an equal. And don't beat up on the other lady, but we're here competing together. And then also, this is a personal thing, I'm more of a beta player. And then when I'm playing with a woman, I have to be more alpha. And that takes me out of my groove. And so Rachel and I are playing in, and Tim's in this as well. The PickleBros are sponsoring a team event with 32 people, 16 men, 16 women. We're going to do an MLP style thing. And Rachel and I are on the same team. I picked her for my team because I want to play with her on the team, but we are not going to be mixed partners. She's going to be playing with another left-handed guy named Tim Shepard. Really excited to have two lefties, try and mix up our opponent's kind of patterns. And I'm going to be playing with Natalie Botman, because Rachel and I don't play well together, but I still want to cheer with her, right? So there's all these different things going on at once. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, so I want to chime in about your comments about just all these crazy emotions you're having to keep in check as you're playing mixed doubles, and how it kind of does a number on your psyche and your mentality. So I don't like playing down. I don't like playing with people that are way lesser players, because I don't think it makes me any better. I think it teaches me bad habits. I get used to hitting certain kinds of shots that I'm just not going to be hitting at the higher levels where I'm striving to be, right? In the same way, mixed is it's a different game. My motivations are different, and I understand it can drive women crazy. They don't want to see a man who's trying to cover for them and all this stuff. And whether it's like an instinct of men to try to like reach over and take care of this thing for the woman, I don't think that's it. I think it's just, I can get there. I can inflict some damage on this ball, so I'm going to try to make contact with it. If I happen to be over in my partner's zone, I'll apologize for it later, or she'll be happy that we won the point, right? Yeah. That kind of thing is not going to transpire in your next men's match that's high level. It's not. So
yep.
I want to always try to get better. Now, it's a little bit apples to oranges if you are serious about mixed doubles and you're in a committed relationship, whether it's a spouse or someone that you just want to improve side by side with. I'm not in that. So for me, how mixed doubles tends to go, I find is not good for my personal game, because that's not how I'm going to be playing in the matches that I want to be playing at the high men's doubles levels.
I'll circle back around that between me and Rachel, but Nicole, go ahead. You said you want to say something?
Yeah, so it's interesting that you brought up that you're always trying to improve. So you don't think the way to improve is to play mixed doubles because they're automatically going to not be as good as you or better. So that's not going to help your game. So it's interesting that you say that because I was scrolling through Facebook today and I always have pickleball stuff pop up, and there just happened to be a little post from Irina Tereshchenko, who is obviously, as everybody knows, she's a pro pickleball player.
Not everybody knows, actually. It's a shocking amount of players don't care or know about the pros.
Well, she's from my area, so she comes and does clinics here, but that was just a coincidence. So if I can just kind of paraphrase, because the whole thing was based on is the only way to get better is by the question is the only way to get better is by playing up basically in level. And she was like, I get this question all the time. I've gotten this question when I played tennis and now pickleball. And she's like, basically for the reason, she gives 3 reasons. Number 1 is karma. She's like, when you were new, you started out and people had to be nice to you and show you how to hold a paddle and tell you how to keep score. And so the least that you can do is return the favor. So that's number 1. So why, and also why would that be exclusive to mixed doubles? Like, why wouldn't the same rule apply as you're getting better with, I don't know. Anyway, number 2, it's when you play with people that aren't as good as you, that's when you try your new shots. That's when you try new tricks and things that once you get more competent at those, then you can implement them at the higher level. And I know you're probably thinking, but I'm already the best. I already have good shots. I already have all the tricks, that there's nothing else that I can learn in that regard. Anyway, and the last thing she says, I just want to say, she's like, I've heard this over and over in tennis and now pickleball, that I can only get better by playing with better players. And my argument to that would be, do Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer always play with better players? Definitely not. But they're getting better every year. For 20 years, they've gotten better and better. And they're certainly not playing together. So who's better than them necessarily?
They're drilling.
With who? Better players? Anyway, that was the argument.
No,
that was the argument. And I think, and also it has a lot to do with priority. If you just don't care, if it's not worth it to you, if none of those things make a difference, then you're not going to have the right attitude, and it's not going to be a good experience.
Interesting.
So I want to talk specifically about your second point about how you can go and try new things. How is that fair to your partner who's trying to get better too alongside you? As
it doesn't mean sabotage your game. It means that you can try something that you're working on. I mean, I don't think that means that you suck the whole time. Again, it has a lot to do with your attitude. And if you see it in a positive light and it's worth it to you and you want to get something out of it and you're thinking about karma and, the fact that when you were new, people played down to play with you and that's how you learned. If any of that means something to you, then I don't know, you'll invest time in it. And it's about your attitude.
Rachel, do you have anything to add on to that before I move on to another question for you?
No, I think it's great. I think you do take more risks when you play down. And now I've also gotten in a situation where most of my games are playing down, and I've seen that hurt my game. And I know that stress of I'm playing a lot of pickleball and I'm picking up a lot of bad habits. This is not a good situation.
I agree with that too.
And I just want to remind everyone, that's not commentary on mixed doubles. I've played against a lot of pretty bad men.
Right. Yeah. And it's kind of a catch-22 too, because if someone can only improve by playing up, well, who's going to be the guy that's willing to play down with that guy so that they can improve? Someone's got to give.
I want to follow in the wake of that comment, Tim. And Rachel knew this question was coming. I don't know how she's going to answer this, but Rachel is directly at 3.5, like right there. And I am pushing up towards 5.0. And, if I'm showing up that day, I'm even playing 5.0. So there's a big gap between us. And we found that there's no home for us in competitive mixed. I can't go play down where she is. It's ridiculously unfair. And she can't come up and play with me. We tried a 4.0 tournament together. She got hit in the eyeball with a ball. And so there's no home for us. And so, but also I want to play with my wife. It's like there's some loyalty there. So Rachel, this is coming. How would you feel if I found a 4-5 plus female partner to be my competitive female partner?
I know how she feels.
That is complicated. I'm going to back up and tell a story.
Oh no.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. There's a local guy here in the Springs who has gained a bit of a reputation because he won't step on the pickleball court with a woman. Won't do it.
Not against, not beside.
Not
Won't
against.
do it.
And just to be clear, I have no idea his reasons why, but I know he's a nice guy. Like, he doesn't strike me as the out and out cold misogynist, right? Seems like a good guy, and I'm willing to give him benefit of the doubt. And I grew up in a pretty hyper conservative community where traditional gender roles were sometimes not enough. We wanted to make it even more focused on chivalry and roles and complementarianism. And one of the arguments I heard frequently about scenarios like this is that when you enter an environment where there's a chance of loss and a chance of victory, when there is adventure, when there is excitement, when you survive that scenario and when you conquer in that scenario, you have a powerful positive bond with the person next to you that you went through that with. And for me, I'm fine with you playing with other females. What concerns me is when you are consistently creating experiences bonded with another woman, frequently having high levels of success, adventure, and narrow escapes and conquering. And I think that can lead to some precarious emotional entanglements. One of my beliefs about affairs in marriage is that they are more often caused by stupidity than true malice by the other person. And I would hate to see a scenario where you accidentally stumble into a really genuinely close emotional and physical bond with another human being on this planet that then, goes that direction. And I think that's a high likelihood and something that would really ruin pickleball for me.
That's fair. Can I make a point here?
Please.
So Nicole and her husband are the perfect separation of skill. It's perfect for those two for a mixed doubles partnership. I would say Craig is right around a 4.5. Maybe he's pushing 4.6, 4.7 at this point. Nicole's right around like a 4.2, I would say.
Okay, let me just say, for anybody watching who knows me, I realize I have consistency issues.
Okay. This is just me talking. This is not Nicole talking about herself.
So if you hear that 4.2 and you're like, what?
Yes. No. Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
But that is about what you want. Depending on the makeup of the females in your area, how many of them are like really awesome? Most of the time, you're going to get a 4.2 woman and a 4.5 male. I think that's pretty compatible. Yeah. I think if you are the man or the woman and your spouse is not along the same lines and in those same gaps, it just makes sense to go find someone skill-wise. Like if we're only concerned about winning, it makes sense to go find someone that fits that model. Yeah. And I know women in Georgia. My friend Amy, awesome. She's a legit 4.7, legit. Her husband is like a 4.0. They don't play tournaments together because it doesn't make sense, because she's an awesome female player. She needs to be playing with 5.0s.
So can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
When you're done with that. Okay. So I would say, with that spread, with that gap, what makes that successful?
What makes it successful?
Yeah. What makes that a good partnership? What has to happen, or why is that a good partnership?
Just based on levels that I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It has to do with the scarcity of skill.
Yeah.
How many of those types of players exist in your area? If there aren't that many really good women players who are up on the 4.5 level, and you're a 4-5 male, what 4-5 females there are in that area need to be playing higher because they're scarce. There aren't that many of them.
So you're
It's a numbers game.
Within about 60 miles of where we live here in town, I know about 10 genuinely true 4-5 plus women. I know of probably 100 men who are in that same category.
Right.
So I think
they're in
what you're
high
saying-
demand. They're in high demand.
So are you saying that if you're a 4-5 male, the lowest you can go is a 4-2? Is that what you're saying? Like that's the lowest you should go.
It depends on where you live and what the makeup is of the skill in that area across men and women.
Right.
It all depends.
But that's like
in general,
that's basically
I've
your
seen-
best chance for success. If it's you can't
think
go any lower than that.
I don't know how else to say it. It just it makes sense for that spread to be the case.
So
in most places I played in.
Painful.
So hearing all that scarcity and the commentary, Rachel, let the audience know. Can I go find a 4-5 woman or not? I know
No.
my answer. Yeah.
I think it was obvious.
Yeah.
You play with
Yeah,
Tim
that's
all you
pretty
want.
obvious.
You play with Jesse all you want.
Yeah. The answer is no. So you know what's going to happen? I'm putting it out there. You get better, girl. You start drilling. I know you hate drilling, but I need you to get better.
Is that the goal for you to get up there?
My goal right now is to be a fantastic mother in the opportunities that are presented to me. And pickleball is secondary to that. Pickleball is a hobby. And it's great, but I got other things.
And I respect that totally. Final
it.
question, guys, and we're bumping up on our time here. So give it quick if you can. We'll start with Tim, Rachel, then Nicole, and I'll round us out. What do you want? So men answer for the opposite, women answer for the opposite. What do you want from your mixed partner? What's the single thing that you desire from them when you're on the court? Tim.
Okay, so it's not about personality. It's not about their mannerisms on the court. It's all about their style of play. Now I'm an alpha when I play with men. Like I'm a hitter. I'm a ball striker. I'm a shot maker. And it almost is the same thing that I want in my male partner. I want a male partner that's got a soft game that I can rely on, but who can also attack. I guess that's the difference. I don't really want my female partner to attack that much. I want to
be a counter.
Yeah. I want to be able to, I want the responsibility of putting balls away and attacking, but I need them to reset. I need them to drop. I need them to dink. I need them to be steady, not spectacular, but steady.
Rachel.
I think very similar. I want a male player who's going to be a badass and do the things that I can't, that he is more capable of doing. So I want him to put away those high shots as hard as possible. I want him to blow me away with that drive. And I want him to give me enough space to do what I am good at. So those resets, those lobs, those drops, that softer game.
Nicole.
No, I'm not even sure how to answer that.
How do you want your, yeah.
I mean, obviously the obvious answer is like to be a good player, to do what the alpha is supposed to do. But I think for me, all those things, if all those things are said, I need to have communication. I need to have mutual respect, understanding. If we're playing in a mixed situation, don't expect me to be a guy. At the same time, I know that my responsibility is I need to know how to reset the ball. I need to know how to keep up the dinking game. It's the best male. I'll just stick this in here real quick. The best male player in our area prefers to play with women over men because the women he plays with, I mean, their level's way up there. They are the best at the soft game. They have got those two-handed mid-court resets that when you're getting the ball smashed at you, you have got to be good at that to be an effective, really good mixed doubles player. So I'd say for me, I would say it's about after his skill level is up there, mutual respect, communication for sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I love that
reset. I like that. That sounds good.
Oh yeah. There's the tiny girl from Utah. She's a pro. She's
Elise Jones.
She's such a beast. She's got
Mighty
the best.
Mouse. She's Mighty Mouse. That's what they call her.
I have absolutely modeled my two-handed reset after her. She's incredible. But it's funny. So what I want out of my female mixed player, it's funny to hear Tim who's even an alpha with men, kind of describe what he wants, because I am not that type of guy. And I don't thrive there. I actually thrive more on counterpunching, right? Instead of initiating offense, I want to have you attack me and I will counter. So what I want from my woman is not to overstep what she's good at. Like, stay in your lane. If you are one of the rare women who I have only ever seen one, honestly, in our area who should be attacking, don't attack. Reset, dink, drop, keep us in the point. And if you're attacked, then counterpunch. But stay in your lane. Don't overstretch your bounds. And I think when I'm a guy and I'm not doing the alpha kind of traditionally, the woman, and this even happens when I play with a man who's a little bit more tentative, they want to do more. They're like, well, we're not attacking, so I now need to take over that. And that's not the case. Just stick to the strategy, stay soft. So it's a lot of the same stuff being parroted from Nicole and Rachel and from Tim and I, just with some slightly different flavors. So any closing comments or thoughts you guys want before we get out of here?
This was fun.
This was so great. Rachel, Nicole, thank you so much for jumping on here with us. We so appreciate it. Maybe we'll do it again. We'll see if the audience gives you guys thumbs up or thumbs down. Everyone, please come. Yeah, you're going to be judged hard here. So ladies, please, Kathy Bell, I'm calling you out. Let our ladies know how they did. Kathy's one of our more ardent fans. So thank you guys for joining us for this episode of the PickleBros podcast. Please share us around, like the video, subscribe on all the podcasting platforms. We love you guys. We appreciate you. Stay safe and stay out of the kitchen.